Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today's topic is peace in daily living. Interesting, isn't it? Everyone wants peace. We all want peace of mind. We don't want wars. We are troubled when we see news of war happening in other parts of the world. But you see, there is a war that is happening within us, and we are not attending to that war. This is the problem. It is not that the external world, the outer world, is violent. What the great masters have said is that the violence is inside man, it is within us. And our refusal to accept it, to see it for what it is, creates more complications. This is a problem, a big problem, because we are not addressing the fundamental thing, and it has become a driving force for something which is creating insanity in the world. Anger is just those repressed feeling inside which comes out because of some external event. And it's very natural for us to blame the external event. We say that I got upset because so and so said something, or because this and that is happening. But there is a refusal to go inside and see what is creating anger. If you go deep inside and see where is this anger arising from, you will get the answer. When you seek for the source of anger, the energy of the anger begins to dissipate. It finishes completely. And that is the whole purpose of spiritual seeking. It is to find out where all these emotions like anger, hatred, jealousy, malice, from where are they arising? Am I creating these emotions? Is there an entity, an agency here in this mind and body complex which is creating these emotions? We really don't know, do we? And the worst part is we are not even willing to explore this idea. This is one thing we run away from, we shy away from. We don't want to look inside because it's uncomfortable. And we want comfort. We love comfort, don't we? When it is about the other person, we are ready to fight. So if someone in your office, in your workplace, comes up and says something which you don't like, you're very eager to fight that person. And that's okay. If something is troubling you and you want to confront somebody, that's fine. But what about this these feelings, these emotions which are inside of yourself? Who's going to confront them? If you're not going to confront them, the violence remains inside the heart of the man. You see, this very idea that we are separate individual living a separate existence, me and the other, is the source of all conflicts. There is me and the other, which eventually becomes me versus the other. Because this me is an image. I am so and so person. I am the CEO of a company. I have this car. I have this phone. I have so much money in my bank account. I belong to this race. I belong to this country. Therefore, you get it? This is all me. And slowly what happens is that me starts comparing because it wants to expand. Me is nothing but the ego. And the ego wants to expand at any cost. While the ego may tell you that you should do breathing exercises, you should do meditation, you should do yoga, it spins up its own fantasy story. It will tell you all kinds of things, but it is unwilling to sit in silence and see what is going on within, because then it gets exposed. And once the ego gets exposed, that is the beginning of annihilation of ego. So ego doesn't want to do that. It wants to expand. Sometimes as a grandiose personality, I am so and so. I should be treated like this. So it constantly creates a sense of entitlement wherever it goes. And at other times, it behaves like a victim. I did not get this or that in life. Poor me. Both the grandiose and the poor me are equally vicious, because their objective is not to create peace of mind. Their objective is to expand. So they will continuously create new stories. And you know how are stories created? The ego creates story in two ways. First, it goes into the past. Okay? And when the ego goes into the past, it questions that I deserved such and such life. I did not get this. I did not get that. And I deserve it. All these thoughts it spins up, and it keeps you trapped in the past, continuously thinking, continuously reinforcing the same thoughts over and over again that you are inadequate, that you need something to be somebody. That is how the ego traps us into the past. Second thing is the future fantasy. Now, what the ego does in the future fantasy is that based on what has happened in the past, it now spins up a story in the future. It starts imagining, what if I have so much money in my bank account? What if I have a big house? What if I have a big car? The ego is not willing to address any concern. It is not interested in that, any real concern. It is only interested in fantasy. So either it is in the dead past or it is in a fantasy future. But there is something which is in the present, which is timeless, and that is not the ego. So, so what should we do about this? See, the ego doesn't let you sit in silence and watch your feelings. So when you sit in meditation or you try to contemplate any life situation, say your unconscious patterns, say your anger, your jealousy, feeling of hatred or malice towards others, the ego always comes up with a justification. It comes up with a cause. And it continuously reinforces the same thought over and over again, that there is an entity here that is called me, which is the poor me, or which is the great me, that constantly need a feed. And that is the source of pain. So, what the masters have said is that when spiritual awakening happens, the sense of personal identification or me gets destroyed. It does not mean that the mind and the body gets destroyed. What gets destroyed is the sense of personal identification. Now the mind still remains. So my likes, my dislikes, my preferences in the world, all those things remain, but there is no deep attachment to it. So okay, if I get something, it's fine. If I don't get, no big deal. There is no involvement. And when there is no involvement, peace is the natural outcome. That is what peace is all about. It is not about renunciation. It is not about going to the Himalayas and doing deep meditation, sadhana, sitting in caves. That is foolishness. That is not bravery. That is again a ploy of the ego to achieve a fantasy in the future. So the ego will say that you must become a spiritually enlightened being. So go and sit in the caves and meditate for 100 hours or 200 hours or 10,000 hours. And then you will attain a state of permanent and pure bliss where everything will be very comfortable. There is no such promise in life. Spirituality is not about comfort. Life is not about comfort or bliss. The peace I'm talking about here is not the peace which is conditional. It is the peace in which one remains anchored irrespective of life situations. That does not mean that I become resilient to the forces of nature. No, if something hits me, I will feel pain. Whether somebody hits me physically or psychologically, I will feel pain. The pain in the moment cannot be avoided. That is the brutal reality of life. The pain in the moment cannot be avoided. So, the pain in the moment is the reality of the moment. But that is not the ego. The ego is that which comes afterwards with a story that, oh my God, my poor me, I felt so much pain, this and this happened to me, and so on and so forth. It keeps going on and on. Then it keeps building conditions, that now I must do this, now I must do that. I was so poor, now I have to earn lots and lots of money to be happy. Well, as if every millionaire or billionaire is happy. Even spiritual people, most spiritual people who are sitting in their robes may not be that happy. While it is a personal preference to be what anybody wants to, But in the end, it is all a story of this entity, this agency which claims itself to be real. And this agency or ego tells us that we must do this and we must not do that in order to be happy or in order to attain a particular state. And that is the problem. Because then we start chasing ideas, we start chasing beliefs. We think that happiness can be acquired. And what the teaching of Advaita says is that happiness is our intrinsic nature. We are already what we are seeking, we are already whole. And only this much is to be understood. Then there is no irritation, then there is no what is that word? There is no urgency to chase after things, to run after things. In fact, then once the ego understands that nothing is being done as such by the ego itself, it gives up, it surrenders. And with that sense of surrender, it allows for things to happen, and things happen on their own. And there is complete acceptance by the ego, and whatever its limitations are, it completely accepts them. And that is where the peace of mind, that is what that is truly what peace of mind is. So am I going to be young forever? Am I never going to have any disease? Am I never going to lose anyone? Lose any of my loved one? No, that is not possible. It is against the flow of nature. This is all going to happen. And am I not going to grieve or feel sad about things I lose? Of course I'm going to be sad. Of course I'm going to grieve. But I'm not going to be involved in that grief and make it a mourning for a decade. What I mean is that the pain in the moment does not propagate and become a suffering in linear time. When Buddha said that sansara is dukkha, that life is pain, suffering. Suffering is the word he used. Actually, the word dukkha and the word suffering are not the same, but just to simplify the concept, I'll say that Buddha said that life is suffering. But did he mean that the pain that we experience in the moment is suffering and that can be avoided? Of course, the pain in the moment is a suffering, but it is a temporary suffering. Can it be avoided? No, because we have no control over the pain in the moment. See, let's understand this with an example. What happens when you are walking and your foot accidentally hits a stone or something? You get a cut in your leg. Does it hurt? Of course it hurts. Is there a way to avoid it? No, there is no way to avoid it. What would you say in that situation? If you say that I am not the mind, I am not the body, I am the supreme consciousness, and I'm not going to feel the pain, that is ego, my dear, which is talking. Of course, you're going to feel the pain. You're going to feel the physical pain. You're going to feel the emotional pain. If you are in denial that now I am the supreme being, so I don't feel any pain, I am a peaceful being, so I don't feel any pain, I'm not going to react, I'm resilient, that is all part of the story which the ego has told itself. But once the ego accepts that nothing is in its control, then what happens? Then the magic happens. And you know what that magic is? That magic is you are freed from the load of being the doer of your actions. I'll repeat that. You are freed from the load of doer of your actions. The actions happen through you, through your mind, through your body, but you're not the doer. Now, it is just my concept. I don't want you to believe to a word I'm telling you. Verify this with your own experience and then come to a conclusion. If you feel that this is something that you resonate with, well, come to my channel, watch my videos. If you want to ask me questions, you can ask me any question. I always reply to my mails. I may not be able to reply to the comments because that's very difficult. It's very difficult to keep track of the comments, but you can always reach out to me through my website form, which is always given in my video descriptions. And you can just send a mail to me through that form. And I respond to each and every email. I may take a little time, may take me a day or two to reply, but I do reply to everybody's query. So think about this point. If you are not the doer, then who is that person or who is that which is experiencing pain and suffering? If you can arrive at that, then the peace is a natural outcome. So I think with that, we will conclude for today. And thank you guys for joining me. I see 2 of you have given me likes also. Thank you very much. Thanks for attending. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Any questions, any concern, you can ask right now, or you can also fill out my website contact us form and send your query to me and I will reply for sure. So if you want to ask any question, anything, you can certainly ask. If you don't know who I am, I'll just briefly tell you. So I run this website called mindfulnessquest.com and my channel is the same. And I talk about a very ancient teaching, Eastern teaching, which is called Advaita or non-duality. So I talk about non-duality, and for me, it is not a theory of or a philosophy because it has been my experience of life. And so for me, it is not a theory, and it has stood the test of time. And so I resonate with it. But I don't want you to take my words for it. I want you to arrive at this conclusion through your own experience. But in that, in your journey, if you need any assistance or any guidance, though I'm not a teacher, I don't consider myself to be a teacher, but as someone who has experienced some of this peace, I could definitely be of help. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'm actually using my phone for this. I don't know how to. Okay, so guys, what you can do is you can send me your questions on my website through my contact page. I'll mention that link in the description. And any question, any query you have, I'll revert back to you. I take your leave now. Thank you for joining. Take care. Bye-bye.